On Wednesday, August 19th, the first bus pulled up and let off the new kindergartners. The students were introduced to the new teachers, including the social studies teacher, Mr. Kerr. Mr. McHenry and Mr. Wilburn held an assembly to tell the 117 enrolled students about the new policies.
On August 10th, the Brashear softball and baseball teams began practicing for the upcoming season. This year's softball team consists of 2 seniors, 3 juniors, 7 sophomores, and 2 freshmen. They are coached by Miss Cameron and Miss Miller, with Ashton Walter as their manager. Later in the afternoon, the boys would have their practice. Their team consists of 2 seniors, 4 juniors, 1 sophomore, and 3 freshmen, with Mr. Schneider as their coach. Both teams have been working hard despite the rainy weather. The first softball game is August 25th against Scotland County at Brashear. Then on the 28th, both teams head to Lynn County.
Hello, I'm Mary.
And I'm Matt. Welcome to BHS News.
Our first story today is about the elementary back-to-school picnic. At the back-to-school picnic, the elementary students had their parents come and enjoy a barbecue and meet and greet their teachers in their classrooms.
In preparing for the start of the school year, a group of volunteers pitched in on a variety of projects around the school. The volunteers put new guardrails up in the parking lots, set up new playground equipment, poured new concrete steps to the ball field, cleaned up around the ball field, and each shack.
After many practices, the Brashear Lady Tigers got to play their first game of the season on Tuesday against Scotland County. For the defense, Sierra Hines started off pitching and was able to get 7 strikeouts before Kristen Love came to relieve her for a little bit and was able to get a strikeout of her own. Then on the offensive side, the team was able to put the ball into play. Abby McKim and Stephanie Linhart got a single, and Shelby Salter and Sierra Hines got 2 singles each. Katie Watson, Ashley Watson, and Katie Smith hit themselves a double. Shelby Salter also got a triple. During the 3rd inning, Sierra Hines scored the first run for the team. In the next inning, Shelby Salter added 1 more. Then in the 6th, Shelby Salter and Katie Smith put 2 more points on the board. After the team went into 2 extra innings, they lost to Scotland County 4-6 in the 9th.
Hey, my name is Abdul. Welcome to BHS News. This is September 4th.
My name's Katie. We're going to talk about the softball and baseball games and then also student council election.
For the past week, the president and vice president candidates have been campaigning. The vice president candidate was Matt, and the president candidates were Trevor, Daniel, and Abby. We would like to say congrats to all that participated. Congratulations to the President Trevor and Vice President Matt.
On Saturday, August 29th, the softball team headed over to the Atlanta tournament to play El Plata. The girls struggled in the first inning and could not recover. The El Plata girls won 13-3 in the 5th inning. Once the game was over, they headed to Atlanta to play Nottinger. After the first game, the Lady Tigers were able to pull it together and start getting some runs. They beat Nottinger 5-4 in the 6th. After the time limit was up. Next game was against Atlanta playing for 3rd. The team kept Atlanta from scoring and were able to make some runs of their own. They won that game 12-0 and won 3rd place.
On Monday, the Tigers headed to Lynn County. The Brashear Lady Tigers led off the softball game by quickly getting on the board with a first inning run. The Lady Mustangs answered with a run of their own in the bottom of the frame. From that point on, it was all Brashear as they scored 4 in the second on their way to a 5-inning 12-2 win. For the Lady Tigers, Katie Watson had a pair of singles, Sydney Slavin doubled, and Sierra Hines had 2 singles and a triple. Hines got the start for Brashear, picking up the win. In the baseball game, Brashear found themselves in a 5-0 hole at the end of 3 innings. They fought their way back to tie the game in the top of the 7th. The Tiger defense held in the bottom of the 7th to put the 5-5 game into extra innings, but the Mustangs managed to push across a 2-out run in the 8th to win 6-5. For the Tigers, Hayden Coyne had a single and a double, and Matt Thomas and Jay Scudder each had singles. Cody Snelling got the start going 3 innings, giving away to Matt Thomas in relief.
On Tuesday, Knox County came over to play the Lady Tigers. It was a hard-fought game. No one on either team was able to score until the 5th inning. Knox County was able to score 1 run in the 5th, but the team kept them from scoring any more until the 7th, where Knox County scored 1 more run. The Lady Tigers tried to make some runs of their own. In the 3rd inning, they were able to get the bases loaded but failed to get them to score. Abby McKim got a single. Sierra Hines and Shelby Salter both got 2 singles. Sierra Hines was the pitcher of the game and got 7 strikeouts. In the end, the Lady Tigers lost 0-2 against Knox County. On Wednesday morning, we had our annual Fall Renaissance breakfast. The students were served biscuits and gravy, eggs, and orange juice. The Renaissance program is designed to reward students for having good grades and good behavior.
On Thursday, September 3rd, Macon County came to Brashear. In the softball game, Macon County got on the scoreboard with a run in the top of the 1st inning, but it was all Brashear after that. The Lady Tigers put up 11 runs in the 1st and 12 innings in the 2nd. On their way to a 25-1 victory, Abby McKim had 2 hits for Brashear. Stephanie Lenhart tripled, Katie Watson doubled, and Sierra Hines, Chloe Sykes, and Kristen Love singled. Love got the win for Brashear, striking out 5. Thursday, September 3rd, Macon County came to Brashear. Neither team was able to score in the 1st inning of the baseball game, but changed the game dramatically in the 2nd inning as Brashear's Nick Thomas hit a grand slam along with home runs by Jay Scudder and Adam Songer to blow the game open. Thomas would add another homer in the 4th to drive 8 runs of the night in a 26-1 Tiger victory. Hayden Hasman, Nick Thomas, Matt Thomas, Hayden Coyne, Cody Snelling, Jay Scudder, and Adam Songer also had hits for Brashear. Tigers pitcher Matt Thomas threw 4 shutouts innings for the win while fanning 8. Hayden Hasman came in relief.
On Friday, September 4th, the Tigers and Bulldogs were scheduled to play a varsity and JV doubleheader Friday night, but heavy rain came during the varsity contest and canceled the JV game. The Plata jumped on the scoreboard with a pair of runs in the top of the 1st inning, but a Nick Thomas single and Hayden Coyne home run tied the game at 2-2 in the bottom of the frame. The Plata broke the game open with 6 runs in the 3rd on their way to a 13-2 rain-soaked win. Hayden Coyne homered in the losing effort, Nick Thomas had a pair of hits, and Matt Thomas and Adam Songer also had hits. Hayden Coyne took the loss for Brashear, going 4 innings with Nick Thomas pitching an inning of relief.
On Tuesday, the Tigers faced Novinger at home. From the 1st inning on, the Lady Tigers and Lady Wildcats both knew they were in a battle. Novinger quickly put 2 runs on the board in the top of the 1st, but Brashear answered with 4 runs in the bottom of the frame to take a 4-2 lead, only to have Novinger score 2 more in the 2nd to tie the score 4-4. Novinger retook the lead 5-4 in the 5th, but Brashear scored in the 6th to tie the game 5-5. Novinger looked like they might get the win when they pulled ahead 6-5 in the 7th, but Brashear's Sierra Hines drove a 2-out, bases-loaded double into center field to lift the Lady Tigers to an 8-6 victory. Hines had 3 hits on the night for Brashear. Stephanie Elsie had 2 hits, and Shelby Salter, Katie Watson, and Abby McKim also had hits. Hines was the winning pitcher going the distance for Brashear. The baseball game looked to be a low-scoring affair in the early innings as a first-inning home run by Adam Songer got Brashear on the scoreboard. The Tigers scored another run in the second, but each team's pitchers and defense held through with no more scoring through 4 innings. Brashear pushed across another pair of runs in the 5th to gain a little breathing room, then ended the game early by a score of 11-0 with a 6-run 6th inning that featured a Cody Snelling home run. Snelling and Matt Thomas each had 3 hits for the Tigers. Hayden Coyne, Nick Thomas had 2 hits each, and Adam Songer, Daniel Smith, Nick Bradshaw, Nick Gordon, and Jay Scudder also had hits. Hayden Coyne picked up the win for the Brashear Tigers, getting the shutout while limiting Novinger to a single hit.
This past Tuesday, Brashear High School sponsored a blood drive at the Keller Building. 27 people showed up to give blood. There were 23 successful donors and 1 first-time donor. Last Thursday night, the Brashear varsity and JV softball teams traveled to Canton. In the varsity game, things looked promising for the Tigers as Brashear's leadoff hitter Sierra Hines made it all the way to third base but didn't score. That was the story of the night. In 6 out of 7 innings, Brashear managed to get runners into scoring position but couldn't bring them home, while Canton added runs in every inning except the second to claim a 9-0 win. Kristen Love pitched and took the loss for Brashear. In the JV contest, Brashear scored in the top of the first to take an early lead that they never relinquished on their way to a 6-3 win. Katie Smith got the start and was the winning pitcher for Brashear. Friday night, the Tigers hosted La Plata for a baseball-softball conference doubleheader. In the softball game, Brashear took a 2-0 lead after 1 inning, but La Plata scored 3 times in the second, twice in the third, and twice in the fourth to take a 7-2 lead. Brashear came storming back with 4 runs in the 6th, but that left them down by a run, and La Plata took the game by a score of 7-6. Sierra Hines had 3 hits for Brashear, with Shelby Salter and Abby McKim also having hits. Hines got the start and took the loss for Brashear. In the baseball game, La Plata scored a run in the top of the first inning, but Brashear answered with a pair of runs in the bottom of the inning to take a 2-1 lead. La Plata added another pair of runs to take a 3-2 lead in the top of the fourth, but Hayden Hausman blasted a 2-out, 3-2 pitch over the center field fence for a grand slam, putting Brashear up for good by a score of 7-3 after 4 innings. La Plata rallied for 3 more runs in the top of the 7th, but fell short by a run, giving Brashear the 7-6 win. Hausman had 2 hits, including the grand slam. Cody Snelling also had 2 hits, and Nick Thomas, Matt Thomas, Hayden Coyne, and Adam Songer also had hits for Brashear. Matt Thomas picked up the win for Brashear, striking out 10 in 7 innings of work. Saturday morning, the Lady Tigers hit the road to travel to the Schuyler County JV softball tournament. In the first-round pool game, Brashear faced off against Novinger. Both teams scored a pair of runs in the first, but the Lady Tigers held Novinger to only 3 more runs in the 4th inning, while putting up 11 more runs of their own to claim a 13-5 win. For Brashear, Shelby Salter and Katie Watson had 3 hits each. Chloe Sykes and Stephanie Linhart had 2 hits each, and Shandy March, Abby McKim, Tabitha Killen, and Miranda Creason also had hits. Katie Smith was the winning pitcher. In the second pool game, Brashear built a 12-0 lead before Clark County scored 10 times in the 4th to climb back in the game. Brashear held on for the 12-10 win to advance to the championship game. Abby McKim had 2 hits for Brashear, and Stephanie Elsie, Katie Watson, and Kristen Love also had hits. Stephanie Elsey got the start for Brashear with Katie Smith pitching in relief. In the title game, Schuyler County led Brashear 3-2 after the first inning and had extended their lead to 8-4 after 5 innings. A 7th-inning rally put another 2 runs on the board for Brashear, but the rally fell short, giving Schuyler County an 8-6 win. Shelby Salter and Katie Watson had 3 hits each for Brashear. Ashley Watson had 2 hits, and Sierra Hines, Miranda Creason, Abby McKim, Shandy March, and Kristen Love also had hits. Love got the start and took the loss for Brashear. Brashear visited Atlanta Tuesday night. The Lady Tigers blew the softball game open with a 4-run 3rd inning and a 5-run 5th inning on their way to a 12-4 win. Brashear held Atlanta to a pair of runs in the 3rd and another pair of runs in the 5th. Shelby Salter and Katie Watson homered for Brashear. Abby McKim had 3 hits. Shelby Salter and Stephanie Elsey had 2 hits each, and Sierra Hines, Katie Watson, Shandy March, and Tabitha Killen also had hits. Sierra Hines was the winning pitcher, striking out 9 batters. In the baseball game, Hayden Coyne got the start on the mound for Brashear and had the winning run with a leadoff homer in the 2nd inning. Brashear scored 4 more runs in the 3rd, including a Matt Thomas home run, on their way to a 14-0 win. Matt Thomas had 3 hits for Brashear, Nick Bradshaw had 2 hits, and Nick Thomas, Hayden Coyne, Cody Snelling, Adam Songer, and Daniel Smith also had hits. Coyne went the distance, getting a shutout and the win.
On Friday, September 18th, the Math and Science Club had their first outing. They went to the observatory at Truman State University to look at the stars through the big telescope.
On Wednesday, September 23rd, the tornado drill alarm sounded. All the students and faculty rushed to their designated safety areas. The state requires each school to have a series of drills each year, such as tornado, fire, earthquake, and intruder. The school will continue to have drills throughout the school year.
On Wednesday, September the 23rd, Brashear High School went to the Jackson Farms Corn Maze. The school went to the corn maze as a reward for meeting the adequate yearly progress. This means that we set a goal for our school's test scores and we achieved that goal.
On Friday, September 18th, the Tigers headed over to Green City. The Lady Tigers softball team jumped out to a 4-0 first-inning lead, then added runs in the 4th, 5th, and 6th innings to get a 15-0 win. Sierra Hines and Shelby Salter each had 2 hits for Brashear, and Stephanie Elsey, Chloe Sykes, Abby McKim, Ashley Watson, and Kristen Love also had hits. Hines was the winning pitcher, throwing a 6-inning no-hit shutout and fanning 13 batters.
In the baseball game, Brashear jumped on the scoreboard with a pair of first-inning runs, but blew the game open as Cody Snelling blasted a 3-run homer during a 7-run 6th inning. The Tigers won by a final score of 12-0. Hayden Coyne had 3 hits for Brashear, Nick Thomas had 2 hits, and Adam Songer, Matt Thomas, Cody Snelling, and Daniel Smith also had hits. Matt Thomas picked up the win, allowing only 2 hits in the 6th inning shutout while striking out 12.
The Brashear Lady Tigers and Marion County Lady Mustangs played a rain and lightning shortened varsity softball game Monday. Brashear took a 3-0 lead after 1 inning of play, but Marion County scored in the bottom of the 2nd to play within 4-1. Brashear added another 4 runs in the 3rd to ice the game and held on to win 10-3 in the 5th inning. Kristen Love had 2 hits for Brashear, and Sierra Hines, Shelby Salter, and Katie Watson also had hits. Hines was the winning pitcher.
On Wednesday, the Tigers headed to Brevier. The softball game Wednesday between Brashear and Brevier was a pitcher's duel. Brashear's Sierra Hines allowed only 4 hits, while Brevier's Caitlin Toll threw a 1-hitter. As is often the case in softball, the outcome of a game hinges on mistakes and defensive miscues by Brashear in the 3rd inning allowed Brevier to score 4 runs to seal a 4-0 win. Stephanie Elsey had the lone hit for Brashear, and Sierra Hines took the loss for Brashear.
In the baseball game, Brashear's Matt Thomas threw a 1-hit shutout and hit a first-inning 2-run homer to drive in the game's winning run. Thomas faced only 23 batters in 7 innings, striking out 18. Cody Snelling and Daniel Smith had 2 hits each for Brashear, and Adam Songer and Hayden Coyne also had hits in Brashear's 5-0 victory. This win assures Brashear of at least a share of the Tri-County Conference baseball title.
On Monday and Tuesday night, the high school basketball team sponsored the first ever Tiny Tigers camp. On Monday night, the coaches helped the kindergarten Tiny Tigers with passing drills and basic skills. On Tuesday night, the games were held in the high school gym. There were 6 games and 4 teams. A lot of people came to support their children. The money made from the Tiny Tigers camp goes to the high school basketball fund.
On Wednesday, September 9th, the girls and boys basketball team had their first practice. On the boys team, there are 11 players, and on the girls team, there are 12 players. The first practice was a success.
On Monday, September 20th, the Buckland Bulldogs came to Brashear to play the rescheduled game that had got rained out. In the first inning, Buckland scored 2 runs before the Tigers could get 3 outs. The Tigers battled back when it was their turn to bat and scored 4 runs of their own. After that, the Lady Tigers didn't let Buckland score any more runs for the rest of the game. 8 more runs were scored by the Lady Tigers, which led them to a 12-2 win. Sierra Hines, Shelby Salter, and Katie Watson all got singles, and Abby McKim got a double. Stephanie Linhart, Ashley Watson, and Kristen Love all homered. Kristen Love was the winning pitcher, getting 7 strikeouts.
In the JV game, the Lady Tigers got 3 outs right away on defense in the first inning and then put 3 runs of their own on the board. Next inning, only 1 player from Buckland scored, and after that, they weren't able to score anymore. Then the Lady Tigers put 3 more runs, which gave them the win 6-1. Shelby Salter got a home run and a double, and Miranda Creason got a single. Katie Smith was the winning pitcher.
The 2nd grade class recently had a publishing party. They had been writing for the last month, working up to the party. The writings were based off of Lucy Calkins' series. At the publishing party, all the students shared their stories with the class and their parents.
The Marching Tigers have been practicing rain or shine for their upcoming parade season. There are 20 band members this year. They'll be performing the song Super Freak at the Truman Homecoming Parade on Saturday. Other scheduled parades are Hannibal Band Day and Mizzou Homecoming.
On Monday, October 4th, Mr. Kerr's third-hour class reenacted some formations from the Civil War battlefield, with mini marshmallows and PVC pipes for weapons.
On Wednesday, October 7th, the Brashear Lady Tigers went to La Plata to play the first district game. The Lady Tigers got a slow start but gained some runs in the 4th inning, but was unable to take the lead. Abby, Katie Watson, Sierra, Shelby, Kristen, and Katie Smith and Ashley Watson all had hits. Sierra had 7 strikeouts and took the loss for Brashear at 7-5.
After the softball and baseball seasons had ended, the Tri-County Conference teams were selected. For first team, there was Abby McKim, Sierra Hines, Matt Thomas, and Hayden Coyne. For second team, Shelby Salter, Cody Snelling, and Nick Thomas. The honorable mention was given to Katie Watson, and Coach Snyder was made co-coach of the year. We would like to congratulate them all.
Recently, the Brashear Band has been practicing for the upcoming parade season. The band had their first parade on Saturday, October 10th in Kirksville for the Truman State University homecoming. Then on Tuesday, October 13th, the Brashear Band traveled to Hannibal for their annual Band Day. At the Hannibal Band Day, there was a parade that had 31 different bands, including the Brashear Band. They also had a field show that the Brashear Band had the honor of playing the Star Spangled Banner in.
On October 14th, the junior high cheerleaders Sydney, Cynthia, Madeline, Katie, Alexa, Angela, and Wendy held the first pep rally of the season. At the pep rally, they got the teams pumped up for the boys and girls' first game of the season, which was against the La Plata teams at the Green City Tournament.
The Brashear Lady Tigers junior high basketball team started their season playing the La Plata Lady Bulldogs at the Green City Tournament. Brashear got off to a slow start, falling behind 6-0 after one quarter of play. They were able to get on the scoreboard in the second quarter, but trailed 13-3 at halftime. Brashear trailed 19-10 after three quarters and could never close the gap, losing to La Plata by a final score of 23-12. For Brashear, Meredith Thomas scored 5 points, Kayla Snelling had 4, and Allison Thompson scored 3 points. The Brashear boys also played La Plata and also fell behind in the first quarter, 10-6. La Plata took a 20-10 lead into halftime and were up 30-17 after three quarters. Although they made several runs to try to close the gap, Brashear ultimately were unable to catch up and lost by a final score of 36-23. For Brashear, Hayden Hausman had 16 points, Jacob Reeves had 5, and Jeremy Barnes scored 2 points. On Wednesday night, members of the BHS Math and Science Club attended the Truman State University Lyceum program to see world-renowned oceanographer Jean-Michel Cousteau speak. Cousteau emphasized the importance of protecting the oceans and our environment to ensure a good future for the planet.
On October 16th, the junior high girls and boys basketball teams headed to Green City to play against Novinger and Green City for third place in the tournament. In the first quarter, the girls were able to put up 4 points on the scoreboard, but Novinger put up 7. After the first half, the score was 12-9 with the Brashear girls in the lead. At the end of the 4 quarters, the game was tied at 18 points each. In overtime, the girls were able to get 2 more points, but Novinger got 4. The girls lost 20-22. Meredith Thomas scored 10, Miranda Creason and Allison Thompson scored 4 points, and Olivia Thompson scored 2. For the boys in the first quarter, they were down by 3, but at the end of the second quarter, both teams were tied 21-21. In the third quarter, the boys pulled ahead to 32-29. At the end of the fourth quarter, the Brashear boys were able to keep the lead and take the win, with the final score being 47 Brashear, 42 Green City. Chance Hill scored 16, Hayden Hausman scored 12, Jacob Reeves scored 10, and Jeremy Barnes, Gabe Thomas, and Sam Smith scored 3. The boys won third in the tournament. On October 20th, the junior high basketball teams headed over to La Plata. During the girls' game, they were down by only 1 at the end of the first quarter. At the end of the first half, La Plata girls headed to the locker room with a 3-point lead. The Brashear girls tried to catch up to La Plata in the second half, but failed and lost 13-25. Allison Thompson scored 5, Meredith Thomas scored 4, and Ashley Moncrief and Kayla Snelling both scored 2. For the boys' game, they were down by 4 in the first quarter. La Plata had the lead at the end of the first half. La Plata kept pulling ahead in the second half, and Brashear was unable to catch up. Brashear boys lost 21-44 against La Plata. Hayden Hausman was the top scorer with 15, Chance Hill scored 2, and Nick Bradshaw and Jacob Reeves both scored 1. On Monday, October 19th, the Tigers visited Atlanta. The Atlanta girls ran up an 11-0 first quarter lead and were ahead of Brashear 15-2 at the half. Brashear outscored Atlanta 5-1 in the third quarter, but ultimately lost to Atlanta by a score of 19-8. Meredith Thomas had 6 points for Brashear, and Kayla Snelling and Allison Thompson scored 1 point each. In the boys' game, Brashear stayed within a 23-15 in the first half, but Atlanta extended their lead to 36-19 after 3 quarters and pulled away for a 45-22 win. Hayden Hausman led Brashear with 12 points, Jacob Reeves had 6, Nick Bradshaw had 3, and Marcus Jefferson scored 1 point. On Saturday, October 24th, the Brashear Marching Tigers went to Mizzou for their third and final parade. The band kept up their energy in the 4-mile parade. To wrap up the season, the Tigers took home second place in the 1A division, and Chloe Sykes took first place for Best Drum Majorette in the 1A division also. Congratulations, band, on your successful marching season.
On October 23, 2009, we had our annual bus evacuation. The state requires the school to have at least one a year for grades kindergarten through 6th grade. During the drill, Mr. McHenry and Ms. Shipman made all of the kids aware of all the emergency exits on the buses.
This past week, the students at BHS observed Red Ribbon Week, a series of activities designed to promote drug awareness. Activities included games and contests, dress-up days, and a visit from the Army with their jousting contest.
On Friday, October 3rd, the junior high basketball players headed to Green City. The junior high girls B team started the night off with a win of 13-9. Megan Moncrief scored 5, Audrey DeBee, Rachel Heimer, Allie Garrett, and Ashley Moncrief scored 2. During the girls' A game, the Lady Tigers got the lead off in the first quarter with the score being 10-3. After the first quarter, the girls had 2 more and only 6. The Lady Gophers got 3. The Lady Tigers got the win 20-16 in the second half. Meredith Thompson scored 8, and Kayla Snelling, Allison Thompson, and Olivia Thompson all scored 4.
For the boys, in the very first quarter, it was a close game. Both teams were tied at 6. The Green City boys were able to get a 4-point lead at the end of the first half. The Tigers only let them gain 1 more point in the third. In the fourth, they outscored Green City 12-9, but it wasn't enough to win the game. Brashear boys lost 24-26. Hayden Hausman was the top scorer with 12, Chance Hill scored 6, Jacob Reeves scored 5, and Nick Bradshaw scored 1. After the weekend, Mary Immaculate came over to Brashear to play the junior high basketball teams on Monday, October 26th. Only 7th and 8th graders could play in these games. After the first half of the girls' game, the girls were ahead by 4. In the second half, Mary Immaculate tried to make a comeback but failed. The Lady Tigers won 19-13. Meredith Thomas was the top scorer with 12, Audrey DeBee scored 4, Ashley Moncrief scored 2, and Allison Thompson scored 1. The boys fell behind in the first half with the score being 12-18, but in the second half they were able to come back and win with the final score being 32-28. The top scorer for the boys was Jacob Reeves with 12, Gabe Thomas scored 6, Tristan Smith scored 5, Marcus Jefferson scored 4, and Chance Hill scored 3, and Sam Smith scored 2.
The next day, the junior high teams headed to Bevere. The girls' game was pretty close from the first quarter on. At halftime, the Lady Tigers were only down 1 point. At the end of the third quarter, the teams were tied at 15. The next quarter, both teams competed neck and neck for the lead. The Bevere girls put up 2 last-minute free throws, putting Brashear down 20-22. Miranda Creason got 1 back in the final moments, but the Lady Tigers were unable to tie the game. Brashear girls lost 21-22. Allison Thompson scored 9, Meredith Thomas scored 8, and Olivia Thompson and Miranda Creason each scored 2. In the boys' game, the Brashear Tigers started off slow. Bevere held the boys to 0 until the third quarter, when Hayden Hausman put the Tigers on the board with an inside shot. The Brashear boys lost 10-30. Hayden Hausman scored 5, Chance Hill scored 3, and Tristan Smith scored 2.
On Friday, October 23rd, Kevin Sykes went to Miss Whitlow's 4th grade class and talked to them about Lewis and Clark. Mr. Sykes brought in items made of deer hide, such as moccasins and belts. He also talked about tanning hides. During his presentation, he brought in tools like Lewis and Clark used to work with. The 4th grade class enjoyed the presentation and learned a lot. They would like to say thank you to Kevin Sykes.
On Friday, October 30th, the junior high basketball teams waited for Buckland to arrive and start playing. The junior high girls were able to get a 5-point lead in the first quarter. At the end of the first half, the Brashear girls headed to the locker room with the lead, with the score being 21-6. In the second half, the Brashear girls kept pulling ahead and got the win, 35-16. Meredith Thomas scored 11, Allison Thompson scored 10, Olivia Thompson and Audrey DeBee scored 4, and Nikki Moncrief, Ashley Moncrief, and Rachel Heimer each scored 2. For the boys' game, the Brashear boys had a rough start, which gave Buckland the lead during the first half. In the second half, the boys tried to catch up to Buckland, but were unable to. The Brashear boys lost 17-38. Peyton Hausman was the top scorer with 13, and Chance Hill and Nick Bradshaw scored 2. On Monday, November 2nd, the junior high basketball teams had a home game against Macon County. The girls started out good in the first quarter and were only down by 1 at the end. When the first half was over, the girls had the lead 16-12. Macon County wasn't about to give up and kept the girls from scoring in the third quarter while adding 5 more points to their score. The girls tried to take the win back in the fourth but weren't able to. The girls lost 23-27. Allison Thompson was the top scorer with 13, Meredith Thomas scored 8, and Abby Hall scored 2. In the boys' B game, the boys tried to take a win but had to settle for a tie, 12-12 against Macon County. Sam Smith and Gabe Thomas scored 6 points each. In the boys' A game, both teams were neck and neck the first quarter and both teams had 5 points. The boys tried to take the lead from Macon County in the second quarter but were unable to. During the second half, they tried to catch up but failed. Brashear boys lost 13-33. Hayden Hausman scored 7, Jacob Reeves scored 3, Gabe Thomas scored 2, and Jeremy Barnes scored 1. The next day, the basketball teams headed over to Novinger. In the first half of the girls' game, Novinger shot out with the lead and kept adding on to it. During the second half, the girls tried to make a comeback, but Novinger kept pushing ahead. The girls lost 16-30. Meredith Thomas was the top scorer with 9, Kayla Snelling, Allison Thompson, and Olivia Thompson each scored 2, and Miranda Creason scored 1. Before the girls' game, there was a boys' B game. The boys lost 10-13. Curtis Blakely and Gabe Thomas scored 3, and Tristan Smith scored 2. In the first quarter of the boys' A game, the boys started out strong and put 8 points on the board. Novinger battled back in the second quarter, closing Brashear's lead to only 1 point. During the second half, the boys tried to keep their lead but failed. The boys lost to Novinger 16-30. Hayden Hausman was the top scorer with 14, and Nick Bradshaw scored 2. On Tuesday, November 10, 2009, family representatives of William Woods University and KTVO videoed and Crest called and interviewed Matt Thomas about the signing of the National Letter of Intent to play baseball at William Woods University next year.
On Monday, November 9th, the Math and Science Club went to the Truman State Herpetarium to see snakes, turtles, lizards, and other creatures. While the Math and Science Club was at the Truman State Herpetarium, each member had the chance to hold the creatures. The Math and Science Club is an organization for students who want the chance to have the experience of field trips outside of school. On Saturday, November 7th, the Brashears High School Academic Bowl went to Kansas City to compete in the Lincoln Prep Academic Bowl. Brashear competed with schools from Kansas City, Jefferson City, Pilot Grove, and Wichita, Kansas. The Academic Bowl scored overall 3rd place. We would like to congratulate Tabitha Killen, Jay Scudder, Ashton Walter, Caitlin Guffey, and Nick Thomas.
The 4th-hour general science class has been working on a variety of odd projects. So far, they built a greenhouse, bird houses, bird feeders, squirrel houses, and mousetrap cars. Building isn't the class's favorite thing to do, says Mr. Copeland. A lot of the kids like to shoot bows instead of building class projects.
On Thursday, November 5th, the junior high basketball teams hosted a game against Lynn County. To start the night off, there was a girls' B game. The girls lost 1-10, and Kayla Snelling made the lone point. In the girls' A game, the girls got off to a not-so-good start. Lynn County went to the locker room with the lead at the end of the first half. The girls tried to catch up but failed. The girls lost 17-40. Audrey DeBee was the top scorer with 7. Allison Thompson scored 3. Kayla Snelling, Meredith Thomas, and Allie Garrett scored 2, and Olivia Thompson scored 1. Before the girls' A game, there was a boys' B game. The boys lost 4-11. Jeremy Barnes and Curtis Blakely each scored 2. In the boys' A game, the Brashear boys had a slow start during the first quarter. Lynn County was able to get the lead by the end of the first half. The boys started off better during the second half, but weren't able to pull ahead of Lynn County. The boys lost 17-46. Hayden Hausman was the top scorer with 12, Curtis Blakely and Chance Hill scored 2, and Jeremy Barnes scored 1. On Tuesday, November 10th, the basketball teams headed over to Atlanta to play in the tournament. The girls played first against La Plata. The game was close from the very beginning. After the first quarter, the Brashear girls were down by only 1. The girls were able to get a 2-point lead before heading to the locker room at the end of the half. They held onto the lead in the third quarter, but in the fourth, La Plata was able to pull ahead. The girls lost 25-27. Meredith Thomas scored 9, Allison Thompson scored 5, Olivia Thompson and Kayla Snelling scored 4, and Ashley Moncrief scored 3. Later on, the boys played against Brevier. In the first quarter, the boys started off good and were down by only 3 at the end. The boys kept battling back in the second quarter, but Brevier kept the lead. In the second half, the boys tried to come back and beat Brevier, but were unable to. The boys lost 27-50. Hayden Hausman scored 8, Jacob Reeves scored 5, Sam Smith and Chance Hill scored 4, and Austin Alexander, Jeremy Barnes, and Nick Bradshaw each scored 2. On Tuesday, November 17th, the Brashear Spanish and language classes went to Truman State University to their annual language festival. They featured sessions that taught French, German, Greek, Russian, Spanish, Japanese, and Chinese. It was a fun learning experience for the students. Later on, after the festival, the students went to the Happy Mexican to enjoy some authentic Mexican cuisine.
This week, the elementary has been having fun with reading. The elementary has been doing several activities such as the Scholastic Book Fair and dressing up throughout the week to encourage kids to read.
On Thursday, November 12th, the junior high basketball teams headed over to Atlanta to play in the tournament. For the girls, they played Brevier. They stayed neck and neck all the way to the end of the first half. Both teams went to the locker room with a score of 9 points. In the third quarter, Brevier was able to pull ahead by 1 point. The girls tried to get the lead but were unable to. The girls lost 21-27. Meredith Thomas scored 8, Allison Thompson scored 6, Olivia Thompson scored 4, Ashley Moncrief scored 2, and Miranda Creason scored 1.
The boys played against La Plata. In the first quarter, the boys pulled ahead by 6. At the end of the first half, La Plata went to the locker room with the lead. The boys tried to battle back and get the lead but failed. They lost 21-43. Hayden Hausman was the top scorer with 12, Jeremy Barnes scored 5, Jacob Reeves scored 3, and Nick Bradshaw scored 1.
On Tuesday, November 18th, the 7th and 8th grade basketball players played their last game of the season against Mary Immaculate. The girls' game started off slow in the beginning, but then they were able to start making some points in the second quarter. The Mary Immaculate girls went to the locker room with a 6-point lead. The girls weren't able to pull ahead in the third, but at the end of the fourth quarter, they tied the game at 27 points each. In overtime, the girls were able to make 1 point, but Mary Immaculate scored 2. They lost 28-29. Meredith Thomas was the top scorer with 13, Allison Thompson scored 7, Kayla Snelling and Ashley Moncrief scored 3, and Nikki Moncrief scored 2.
The boys' game was a good game to begin with. They were 4 points ahead at the first quarter and had 12-point lead heading to the locker room. When the boys came back out, they kept moving forward and pulling ahead and didn't let Mary Mack score very many points after that. The boys won 40-18. Marcus Jefferson was the top scorer with 10 points, followed closely behind with Jacob Reese with 9. Also, Curtis Blakely scored 6, Chance Hill scored 5, Tristan Smith and Gabe Thomas scored 4, and Sam Smith scored 2.
On Wednesday, November 25th, the junior high and high school had their MAP awards. The students were awarded with soda and movie passes for scoring proficient or advanced in the MAP and end-of-course tests last spring. There were about 31 advanced test scores and 89 proficient. On Monday, November 23rd, the Brashear FBLA chapter held their annual Fall Fun Night. At the Fall Fun Night, they played a variety of different games along with having a pizza dinner.
At the beginning of the week, the basketball team started playing in the Novinger tournament. The girls played on Monday, November 30th at 4:30 against Brevier. The Lady Tigers started off good in the first quarter and were down by only 1 at the end. Brevier was able to extend their lead to 11 points and was ahead at the end of the half. The Lady Tigers battled back in the third and were able to take 2 points off of Brevier's lead. Brevier kept pulling ahead in the fourth and got the win. The girls lost 45-30. Stephanie Elsie was the top scorer with 16, Sydney Slavin scored 6, Shelby Salter scored 4, Ashley Watson scored 2, and Katie Smith and Olivia Thompson scored 1. On Tuesday, December 1st at 8:15, the boys played against Grundy County. The Tigers started out fierce and got a 5-point lead in the first quarter. Grundy County tried to pull ahead but couldn't. The boys headed to the locker room with a 12-point lead. In the third, the Tigers kept pulling ahead and extended their lead to 18. Grundy County tried to catch up to the Tigers but were unable to. The boys won 72-51. Anthony Ambrosia was the top scorer with 21, Cody Snelling scored 15, Matt Thomas scored 11, Jay Scudder scored 10, Adam Songer scored 8, Zach Reeves scored 4, and Nick Thomas scored 3.
On Wednesday, December 2nd at 4:30, the girls played against Novinger. In the first quarter, it was a close game. Both teams were battling for the lead, and Novinger got a 1-point lead. The Lady Tigers tried to get the lead back, but Novinger added 15 more points, preventing that. During the second half, Novinger added 13 more points to the previous lead. They kept the same lead through the fourth quarter, letting them take the win. The girls lost 29-54 against Novinger. Stephanie Elsie scored 9, Shelby Salter, Katie Smith, Olivia Thompson, and Sydney Slavin scored 4, Shandy Martz and Ashley Watson each scored 2. On Thursday, December 3rd, the author Jane Halley of the book The Unidentified Flightless Object came to the 4th and 5th grade classes to share her book and encourage the kids it was fun to write stories. The kids enjoyed the book and would like to say thank you to Jane Halley.
We are now going to make snow ice cream.
On Tuesday, December 8th, Brashear welcomed in the winter weather with the first snowfall of the season. The weather caused school to let out early at 12:45. The snow also caused BHS to have their first snow day of the year. The snowfall let some of the teachers teach some students an old tradition to make snow ice cream that they shared with Mr. Wilburn for his birthday.
On Thursday, December 3rd, the boys played against La Plata to see if they would play for first or third on Saturday. In the first quarter, both the boys and La Plata scored 9, giving no one the lead. During the second quarter, La Plata pulled ahead and got a 13-point lead. The boys tried to catch up in the third, but La Plata outscored them by 4. In the fourth quarter, La Plata kept pulling ahead, not letting Brashear get the win. The boys lost 32-60 and played Saturday for third. Cody Snelling scored 10, Matt Thomas scored 7, Anthony Ambrosius scored 5, Zach Reeves and Jay Scudder scored 4, and Adam Songer scored 2. On Friday, December 4th, the girls played against Grundy County for 7th place. In the first quarter, the Lady Tigers were able to get a 7-point lead. During the end of the first half, the girls put 18 more points on the scoreboard and went to the locker room with a 14-point lead. In the third quarter, both teams scored 9. Grundy County tried to catch up but weren't able to, giving the Lady Tigers 7th place. The girls won 46-35. Sydney Slavin scored 15, Shelby Salter scored 14, Katie Smith scored 8, Stephanie Elsie scored 4, Shani March scored 3, and Katie Watson scored 2. On Saturday, December 5th, the boys played against Green City for 3rd place. In the first quarter of the game, the boys started off good and were only down by 4 at the end. The Tigers tried to catch up to Green City in the second quarter but were unable to. In the third quarter, the boys outscored Green City by 13 points. After all the efforts in the third quarter, the boys weren't able to catch up in the fourth quarter. The boys lost 48-63 against Green City and got 4th place in the tournament. Anthony Ambrosia was the top scorer with 25, Adam Songer scored 9, Matt Thomas scored 6, Jay Scudder scored 4, and Cody Snelling and Zach Reeves scored 2.
On Monday, December 14th, the 5th grade class graduated from the DARE program with the assistance of Deputy Grace March. DARE stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education. The class also wrote essays about staying drug-free. After the DARE assembly, they were congratulated with cake.
On Thursday, December 17th, elementary students in the high school band performed for friends and family at 7 o'clock. The high school and elementary band both played several songs. The elementary students also sang a few songs as well. Along with the program, students have worked hard to decorate the gym with their Christmas artwork.
On Tuesday, December 15th, the basketball teams waited for La Plata to arrive and start playing. In the girls' game, La Plata jumped out with the lead and only let the Lady Tigers score 2. At the end of the first half, the La Plata Bulldogs headed to the locker room with a 31-point lead. The girls tried to catch up in the second half but weren't able to. The girls lost 12-66. Sydney Slavin scored 4, and Shelby Salter, Katie Smith, Abby McKim, and Shani March each scored 2. In the boys' game, both teams started out fierce. The Tigers got a 3-point lead in the first quarter. The boys kept pulling ahead and had a 6-point lead, with the score being 34-28 at the end of the first half. In the third quarter, the La Plata boys started coming back and closed the Brashear Tigers' lead to 1 point. During the fourth quarter, both teams were neck and neck, each pulling ahead, then falling behind. Then the boys got in foul trouble, and La Plata made their free throws, giving them the win. The boys lost 54-59. Matt Thomas was the top scorer with 20, Cody Snelling scored 14, Adam Songer scored 10, Jay Scudder scored 6, and Anthony Ambrosius scored 4.